Good morning and welcome back to the start of the first ride of the Royal Enfield Guerrilla. 7:30 in the morning, you can see everyone's just about getting ready. Loads of bikes out here now. We're about to all be put on their bikes, bit of health and safety, signed all the forms, and in about 10 minutes time we're going to head up into the hills. First test ride of the day. Here it is, the Royal Enfield Guerrilla 450. This is based on, it's based on the right word, it's been built alongside the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450, the brand new Royal Enfield. They started building these two bikes at exactly the same time. It just so happens that the Himalayan came out first. It's 450cc, it's 40 horsepower. I just found out yesterday at the grand launch of this bike that it will start at £4,850. The interesting thing for me is this has been marketed as a roadster. However, to me, when I first saw it, if I wouldn't have heard the marketing spiel behind it, I would have said it looks more like a scrambler. Certainly the back end here, this is pure Ducati Scrambler 800. Over breakfast I did ask one of the team at Royal Enfield, I said, does this have off-road capabilities? Are you pushing the off-road elements of this bike? Because when we watched the marketing with all the videos and all of the talks, there wasn't one mention of any off-road ability with this bike, but they said that while they're not trying to push the off-road ability, this is really what you could describe as a very strong roadster. Looks-wise, I think it's a lovely, beautifully proportioned thing. Even with the centre stand up, I can easily get my feet flat. They've made sure that it can fit all sizes of riders. It comes with a sat-nav built in there, and it's meant to be a bike that appeals to as many riders as possible. We've got 10 hours of riding today, so really my main aim today is to see where in my mind it fits, yes, into the Royal Enfield range, but also how does it sit within this sector of the industry? Is it a bike that you could do long distances on? Is it a bike that is more suited purely for beginner riders? First 45 minutes, extremely fun, very light, nimble, agile bike. Yeah, I like it a lot so far.
Sunshine on my mind, we're burning through the city lights. You're the sunshine on my mind.
scenery and roads have been spectacular. And the handling is equally as spectacular. This is, even though it's been developed in conjunction alongside much of the Himalayan, this is a far, far superior bike with regards to handling. When we were pushing it around the hills there, it doesn't feel like it really has any DNA of an adventure bike at all. This is the most modern bike that Royal Enfield have ever made, and really it's probably going to be the single biggest push that they have ever done in their history towards appealing to a younger audience. If you look at it, apart from, yes, the circular headlamp, this is really an extremely modern bike with very, very few of those retro touches. They do need to an extent, be careful, Royal Enfield, because there are many, many of these modern-ish looking good bikes around. Royal Enfield have a very, very distinct style, and they're flirting with the edges of their traditional style, although I have to say that I do think, as a whole, the bike works well. It's very well proportioned, and it's a good-looking thing. And the 450cc engine compared to the 411 on the Scram 411 and the old Royal Enfield Himalayan is not evolution, it's revolution. It takes the two outgoing bikes that have always struggled because of their engines. They've always been decent bikes, but you have to get over the fact that they've got seriously asthmatic engines. Well, this changes all of that. This engine is no longer asthmatic. It's got enough power where you can really push it and enjoy riding into the bends, riding out of the bends, accelerating out. And we were getting up some serious speeds there, 135 kilometers an hour on the twisty roads, on the straights of course, but pushing it even up to 80, 85, 90 kilometers an hour going around the twists. It's a very, very good handling bike. The one slight issue I would say, I've looked at the Royal Enfield website, the Scram 411 is still available for sale. Now this is here imminently. There is no place for the Scram 411 because once you've got this 450cc engine, there is no way on earth you can keep selling the 411 because the 411 feels like it's an engine from about 15 years ago when you put it side by side with this bike. A walk around now of this, what would we call it? A Neo Retro? I think that probably suits it. Pillion comfort. It's incredible how much room Royal Enfield have managed to magic out of what is quite a short wheelbase. Comfortable seat with lots of padding, two solid grab rails there, and I could sit here as a pillion for 20 to 30 minutes, no issue. Rider's comfort, extremely pleasing ergonomically. I'm 6'1", the bend in my legs, the position to the handlebars, it all leads on to a bike that can be used for very long all-day rides. I don't think I'd have any issue on this bike whatsoever. To the best of my knowledge, if I remember, it's about 189 kilos. And that is, well, that's not lightweight at all. In fact, that's borderline on the heavy side for a 450cc bike. But Royal Enfields have never been famous for their lightweight nature. In fact, completely the opposite. But it's incredibly easy to lift it up and down. They've somehow managed to disguise that weight extremely well. So it's just about, get my breath back, it's just about as unintimidating a bike as you could imagine. They've kept a few, and it really is just a few of those subtle classic Royal Enfield nods. The circular headlamp here, the rubber gaiters on the front, just give you that tiny hint to the retro element of what's made Royal Enfield a sales phenomenon around the world. I'll grab the camera and go a bit more in depth around the bike, front to back. Finishing off at the front with a good looking front wheel and a single disc. You can tell it doesn't have to deal with too much power because that is all the stopping you get on the front, but it works perfectly well. And then you can see the really industrial styling they've gone for. Not old school specifically, but very industrial style with a soft old school nod. Plastic indicators here with a plastic surround for the indicators in the instrument binnacle. Coming around to the side, you've got these side panels here in plastic with, I mean, this is straight off a Ducati Scrambler 800. Lots of space behind that rear wheel to give, in my eyes, a very Scrambler-esque look. Big seat, you can see how chunky that is. That really is a seat that's been made for proper, genuine all-day comfort. Coming up to the dash, good quality display, and that is a big dash because within that dash it will house the sat-nav that hooks up to your phone. We had a demo of that yesterday and it seems to work very well, and I much prefer the fact that Royal Enfield now have this dash here all in one, as opposed to the small tripper nav on the side that they've done with a couple of other bikes. That is way more impressive, and that really is something that you only see on the likes of £10,000 bikes. So the fact that that's on a £4,850 bike, hugely impressive. For me, that, I know it's marketed as a roadster, I know I said it at the start of the video, that is a flirtation between a roadster and a scrambler. Maybe slightly more on the roadster side of things, but it's definitely got that bloodline of, should I say, a scrambler, from all of the influence from the Himalayan 450. The Guerrilla is predominantly going to target new riders, and we as humans, we often see either our first love or our first motorbike through rose-tinted glasses. But I promise you, with this bike, you don't need any rose-tinted glasses. It is that good. We've just spent the past hour and a half riding on some of the best roads that I've ever been on, and I couldn't help but think to myself, this bike handles just as well as a Ducati Scrambler 800, and it's £4,850. Royal Enfield, no question at all. They've done it again. They're going to have here on their hands another sales phenomenon. The bike lands in showrooms in a month's time, mid-August, and I've got a feeling that Royal Enfield won't be able to make them fast enough. These will fly out of showrooms faster than Royal Enfield can make them.
Burning through the city of lights, you're the sunshine on my mind.